Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 11 finally reveals the point of the confusing flashbacks. Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 11, 353, finally explains the purpose of the flashbacks that have dominated the second half of the final season. The series returned after a 2-year hiatus to wrap up what is likely to be its grand finale. It began with the explosive reveal that Kevin Costner's John Dutton is dead, but followed this up by jumping back in time for most of the episode. Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 10 also contains many flashbacks, totaling about half of the entire broadcast. Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 11 then has its own long flashback sequence, featuring Beth, Kelly Rayleigh, reluctantly leaving Rip Kohlhauser in Texas to drive back to Montana overnight, while Case, Luke Grimes, Monica, Kelsey Asbill, and Tate, Brecken Merrill, move into their new home and have their first dinner. However, these flashbacks catch up to the present as John's murder takes place while Beth is driving. This sequence in 353 also leads to Case's new purpose in Yellowstone as he begins investigating what happened to his father. The flashbacks in Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2 are meant to show the disconnect between the Dutton's life before John's death and the chaos afterward. However, the flashbacks have been more confusing than illuminating. They are often not marked as taking place in the past, leaving the audience confused about what's happening or where they are in the timeline. Many of them also seem to be filler, such as with Beth's surprise trip to Texas to visit Rip. The biggest problem with these flashbacks is that they take up a considerable amount of screen time when Yellowstone only has 5 episodes to tell its final story. However, flashbacks have taken up at least half of each of the first 3 episodes, severely cutting into the amount of time the series is able to spend on the murder storyline. Additionally, the flashbacks have left little time for wrapping up each character's storyline, leaving the audience in the dark about the likely fate of most of Yellowstone's Dutton family. Yet the final sequence of flashbacks is powerful. Beth's drive home is juxtaposed with scenes of John's murder, and as the fatal shot is fired, Beth flinches and calls Rip to tell him that she has a feeling that something is wrong. Rip, however, attributes this feeling to Beth being tired and makes her promise to pull over if she's unable to drive safely due to her fatigue. Meanwhile, Case awakens suddenly, also aware something is wrong. These flashbacks thus show that Case and Beth were so close to John that they felt a psychic ripping away of part of their soul when he died, while Jamie, Wiz Bentley, appears to have had no such reaction. While this is an important foreshadowing of the war between Jamie and Beth, the flashbacks also have another purpose. The final set of flashbacks show how happy everyone was and the plans they were making right before John's death. Beth and Rip had been thinking about moving to Texas permanently and were in a good place with their relationship, while Case and Monica had just moved into a house, Monica crying tears of joy because she finally had her family together in their own space. Sadly, that was all the calm before the storm, as John's death will completely disrupt all of this newfound happiness. And Yellowstone couldn't make that point without all of these flashbacks over the past 3 episodes. Although the flashbacks initially seemed to be a waste of screen time, it's now clear they are necessary to set the stage for the final battle ahead. Yellowstone's war between Beth and Jamie isn't only about control of the ranch or Beth's anger at John's murder. It's also about fighting for that happy future everyone envisioned. Those future plans are not attainable as long as John's murderer is still free to wreak havoc. Additionally, Jamie's manipulations of the legal system threaten the ranch's continued existence, which is not only John's legacy, but also Tate's birthright. Thus, the fight to the death is a fight to preserve the future, which makes the series' final potentially even more intense. Yellowstone will likely use its final 2 episodes to set up and complete its final battle, with the fate of the ranch itself and all the people who grew up on it hanging in the balance. This will be one of the most intense finales in television history, likely resulting in the death of at least one character, and some answers about what the future holds for the surviving Duttons. Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 11 took viewers on a gripping journey that finally unraveled the mystery behind the often baffling flashbacks scattered throughout the season. For months, fans have speculated on their meaning, with theories ranging from foreshadowing dramatic deaths to unearthing long-buried family secrets. As the latest episode aired, it became clear that these glimpses into the past were not just ornamental storytelling devices, but pivotal pieces of the Dutton family's intricate puzzle. The episode opened with another flashback, this time to a young John Dutton Sr. grappling with the aftermath of a devastating cattle raid in the 1920s. The rugged Montana landscape was painted in hues of both beauty and brutality, as young John, played by a stoic yet vulnerable actor, witnessed his father, James Dutton, making a gut-wrenching decision to put down injured cattle after an ambush by rival ranchers. It was a moment of raw emotion that underscored the unrelenting challenges of ranching life and the sacrifices made to preserve the land. This flashback, however, didn't stand alone. It was seamlessly interwoven with the present-day storyline, where John Dutton III, played by Kevin Costner, faced his own existential crisis as the Yellowstone Ranch was threatened by political maneuvering and corporate greed. The parallel between young John Sr. and present-day John was stark. Both men were fighting for survival, not just for their land, but for the legacy that defined their family. This thematic link offered a poignant reminder that history often repeats itself, especially in the Dutton lineage. One of the most enigmatic flashbacks of the season had been the recurring appearances of a young Beth Dutton, played with remarkable depth by Callie Rogers, and her complicated relationship with her mother, Evelyn. In Episode 11, the flashbacks to Beth's teenage years finally clicked into place. A particularly harrowing scene showed Evelyn harshly criticizing Beth during a horseback riding lesson, pushing her to the point of tears. "Weakness gets you killed," Evelyn snarled, her words as sharp as the wind cutting through the Montana plains. Moments later, Evelyn's tragic accident unfolded as her horse was spooked and she fell, leaving Beth paralyzed by fear and guilt. This revelation shed new light on Beth's unrelenting toughness and deep-seated self-loathing. It became clear that her adult persona, the sharp-tongued, fiercely loyal, and emotionally scared woman viewers know, was forged in the fires of that fateful day. The flashbacks also explained her complicated dynamic with Rip Wheeler, who appeared in a brief but poignant memory as the one person who offered her solace during her darkest moments. Meanwhile, Jamie Dutton's arc took a shocking turn, with the flashbacks offering critical insight into his strained relationship with his adoptive family. A scene from Jamie's childhood revealed a conversation between John and Evelyn, where they coldly discussed Jamie's future. "He'll never be a Dutton," Evelyn said, her voice dripping with disdain. This heartbreaking moment framed Jamie's current descent into betrayal and his alliance with market equities in a more sympathetic light. The audience was left questioning whether Jamie's actions were truly villainous or a desperate attempt to carve out his own identity after years of feeling like an outsider. In the present day, Jamie's plan to impeach John reached a boiling point, with Sarah Atwood manipulating him like a puppet on a string. The flashbacks added layers to Jamie's motivations, highlighting his internal conflict between loyalty to the family that raised him and the desire to claim his own power. Case Dutton's storyline also benefited from the flashbacks, particularly those involving his time as a Navy SEAL. Throughout the season, brief glimpses of Case's harrowing military missions had hinted at a traumatic event that shaped his stoic demeanor. Episode 11 revealed the full story. During a covert operation, Case was forced to make an impossible choice that resulted in the loss of innocent lives. This memory paralleled his current struggle to balance his role as a protector of the Yellowstone ranch with his duties as a husband and father. It also explained the spiritual visions he'd experienced earlier in the season, as he sought redemption for his past sins.